magical witch.
Welcome, witches, to the Broken Pentacle podcast. This is a space for witches who walk their own path beneath an upside down sky, where the stars tell different stories and the magic, well, it's got teeth. We're your hosts, Owlvine and Avalon, two witches who've lived our craft under the southern skies for decades.
Welcome, 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 witches. So, today we have a tasty segment for you because if you like witchcraft, then chances are you might be a little bit moderately obsessed with books. And so, today we are going to be discussing the Witch's Library. Before we get started, as per usual, we will jump into the segments that we love, which are our Witch's Apothecary and our Witch's Work Table. And we're going to discuss some of the magical items and ingredients and botanicals and finds and fails that Owlvine and I have accumulated for you today. So, Owlvine, we are now saying goodbye to Wattle. We have been playing and working and magicking with Wattle for at least 4 weeks now. And so would you like to say a little something about your time with Wattle, any discoveries that you may have made, what the vibe is, and and just share a little wisdom with us?
I have come to really love Wattle as a magical ingredient. I've been working more this past week on creating that friendship charm that I showed last time. In terms of making it, it is complete now. I'm still working with it though. So I'm working on empowering it, let's say, and doing that kind of magical work with it. But I've loved inviting Wattle into my home. I know it's got a lot to do with bringing in happiness, right? So I've sort of brought in a bunch of Wattle, which I don't know if you can see behind me at all or not, but there's some on the altar back there, just bits and pieces. So I've been finding as I'm going past the trees, because I have like bushes and trees of Wattle just everywhere here, everywhere. So I'm finding I'm just picking off bits, and bringing them into my home, and that's been really lovely. So the friendship charm is still new in the works, but I can feel a shift, I think. Sometimes this happens on a subtle, energetic, spiritual level. I can feel like something's gone on. Partially, I do think that is just spring vibes in general, right? Because we are very much entering spring here. And what happens in my world, I don't know about anyone else, but all of a sudden everyone starts doing things. There are events every single weekend now. It's just crazy. So I'm finding this opening of relationship coming into my world. Actually, I did just remember I had something so interesting happen when I was last working on the friendship charm. So this was on Sunday. So I wanted that Sunday energy. And I believe it was in the hour of Venus it was Jupiter, sorry, when I was working on it. And I just started working on it over here at my altar. I was doing the magic, doing the work. And I've got quite a heavy door and it doesn't just swing open on its own, right? So I literally had just started the spell work and the door opened. Now, there was people in the house. So what I thought had happened is my husband had walked past and pushed it open and that he'd like walked off and then was going to come back and talk to me or something. But he was out down the other end of the house. If there's a through wind, if I've got my window open here, the door can open, but the window was not open. Anyway, I felt that was very much spirit coming in and going, the door needs to be open, right? Open the door to friendship, open the door to relationship. It was just one of those little moments that felt like, whoa, okay. So the door was open for the duration of the spell crafting. But it was just, I don't know. I just love those little spiritual moments that happen. So that was kind of fun. And how are you going with Wattle in your world?
Wow, first of all, I'm dazzled by your magical tale. I really am. I love it when spirit and magic just moves around you in such a way to guide and confirm your actions and your moves. This is what it means to listen to your spirits. This is what it means to acknowledge your spirits. So big shout out to the spirits there. So Wattle is everywhere in my life. I was driving home from a friend's house yesterday And after seeing your friendship charm, I was like, I've seen that type of like long flowering yellow rather than the little bulbous yellow.
Mhm.
And so I took photos of this long flowering yellow on two different types of trees.
Oh.
They're both acacias,
Mhm.
but two different types. The shape of the leaves, the shape of like this, the tone of the bark, all different. Two completely different types of trees, same long finger-like kind of wattle bloom.
Mm.
And I just realized I I am full observant right now in all of the spring color, but without a doubt, and I've said this in the last podcast, that I just feel at this moment, like just witnessing and just looking and just really appreciating that all of the trees on my driveway are flowering yellow. Like
Mm.
the color yellow is so prevalent here. Yes, I've got daffodils that are in the yellow vibe. So this is the time for daffodils as well. So I got given a bunch of daffodils. I got given some native flowers this week. And everything is just like, woo, vibrant and in full bloom. But I
Mm.
will say this, I feel as though initially when we introduced the subject of wattle, there was a little kind of bad luck connotation. You shouldn't bring wattle inside the house. I don't I don't vibe with that at all.
I haven't
And I
felt
don't
that.
know if it's disrespectful to First Nations people to say that. I don't know if it's ancestral wisdom where that comes from. But what I feel is it's incredibly protective. It's incredibly native. It's like bringing the outside inside a little bit and honoring the trees, the native flora, yeah, in that most beautiful way. Is to bring it inside and to play with it and I think that that's the thing with spring is that it's such a playful time. It's time to play. It's time to craft. It's time to go outside. It's time to pick flowers. It's just time to observe and connect and appreciate. So I think that our time with wattle came in at a very good time, specifically, first and foremost, because it's everywhere. But most of all, I think it's taught me that there is a lot more native magic around me than I have ever acknowledged. And that's one thing that I would say. I consider the property that I live in quite wild and forested, but it's mostly the same types of trees. But I have made a little discovery, so I'll keep that for our witches work table. That aside, it's mostly natives that we get to work with. So every tree has a spirit. Acacias have their own spirit. Eucalypts have their own spirit. There is an energy, there is an essence, and they are sacred to First Nations people. These are the trees that inhabit this beautiful, not planet, but like country that we live in. Also, planet, but whatever. And so I think it's worth looking and paying attention to what is around you, even if it doesn't seem like it's exciting because the undergrowth holds some exciting discoveries. And as the seasons change, you get to see the behavior of these plants and botanicals. They change and they evolve and the colors transform. And there is so much to honestly observe. And I feel a little bit ashamed of myself that I've never really, like, I've been here for 7 years and I've never really took that much attention or paid that much attention, I should say, to just the splendor of color. Like, I
Mm.
can't, now that I see it, I can't look away. I just see it everywhere. And I'm driving really slowly down my driveway all of a sudden, just to sort of like, oh, look at you. Oh, look at the shape of your leaf. Like, I'm so botanist at the moment.
Love that.
But I thought we could just, before we say goodbye to wattle, because we have had a really nice time with it, I stumbled across it by accident. It was the Cootamundra wattle that I stumbled across. But I wanted to say that wattle trees are particularly iconic in Australia. So this we know, that golden wattle. It's a form of acacia, right? So with it, it carries a bit of a rich history here. And it obviously all plants, all botanicals have their metaphysical properties. But the acacia is famously hardy. It thrives in harsh conditions. It can thrive in dry and often infertile conditions, which makes it incredibly, incredibly robust and hardy. So it's quite defiant in that energy. whereas so many other trees and plants and botanicals require a lot more water and a lot more, sort of like moister soils. The acacias, they grow everywhere, like absolutely everywhere in Australia. So that's beautiful. It's also a pioneer species because it is the first species to come back to life after a bushfire incident. So, for that alone, it contains this like adaptable, regenerative kind of quality that makes it interesting as an emblem or a token of adversity. It always bounces back, even after adversity. There's quite the metaphor to work with there. So before we like move on, I just wanted to run through some of the aspects of wattle that you can work with if this is your first time hearing about wattle or accessing the magic of wattle. So we have resilience, strength and adaptability. We have purification and cleansing, protection and warding. We have solar energy, which absolutely makes sense. So joy and optimism are some of their functions. And how can you not? Like that bright yellow solar energy is
So
just
happy.
very prevalent. It has some associations with secret love and platonic friendships, which is, you know, Owlvine's making her friendship charm right now. And love and friendship are so innately intertwined. So I love that. And connection to land and ancestral wisdom. And this is particularly so for First Nations people. And then lastly, new beginnings. So if we have inspired you to work with wattle in some capacity, we would love to hear your findings, your experiences, what it is that you end up creating. If you do something really cool with it, then maybe take a photo of it if you're keen to share and tag the Broken Pentacle on Instagram and we can have a look at it. Or you can connect with us on TikTok as well and show us in the little video formats. If that's your vibe, anyway.
We would love that.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, our next segment is the Witch's Work Table. It's fails, finds, and field notes. What do you have for us this week, Avalon?
I found, oh my God, what is it called? I found on my property, just up there, like it's overgrown kind of vibe, but I found a very large holly tree. Yeah.
Nice.
And I've always had a holly tree on the way up, but on our neighbor's property, but I drive past it. Here's the fence, the holly tree's right here. And then I just drive past it. So I look at it all the time. But then I was chasing after my dog, and animal spirits will lead you places. I was chasing after my dog, and there it was, this incredibly large holly tree. I was like, oh, hello.
Lovely. Holly is so beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a lovely energy.
Mm, it's a vibe. It really is. So I'm now keen to, I picked the wrong time to do this, mind you, but I'm now keen to boots up and wander the property a little bit because every year I find new things in the undergrowth, but we have a lot, and I do mean this, we have a lot of snakes on this property, like a lot.
I don't like that.
Yeah, a lot of tiger snakes.
Oh, you got
and
serious ones.
yeah, we've got a few varieties, a few species, but the tiger is really prevalent down here. So anyway, that aside,
Hence boots and all the things.
all the boots, snake guards and boots, my friend. But springtime is when all the babies are out, and the babies are really vicious. And if you're bitten by a baby snake, they can't control the level of venom that they pump into you because they're babies. They can't control it. So
Terrifying.
it's best not to fuck around in the bush at this time of the year.
Leave the babies alone.
Indeed. All right. So that's my find. And my field note is snakes. Like, not a great idea. But also, I had a little, I don't know, if anyone listening here live off water tanks in the same way that I do, I've started to spend time with my water tanks because I'm a little like, water has memory, water is all this beautiful fun stuff. So I like to sit there and put my hands on my water tanks And now I'm feeling inspired to draw sigils on my water tanks and just like work with the storage of water that I have here on my property because I've got so many different water tanks because we do live off grid. So that's really, really, really interesting.
Mm.
And I've had this nice idea as well about solar panels, and that's to put solar sigils at the back of each of my solar panels to really attract some sun. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm in the vibe of like, let's do some witchcraft.
You're so in the witchy vibe. I love it so much. It's all that creativity oil that we used,
Oh
those
my
beginning
gosh.
episodes. That was off the hook.
Oh my gosh. Oh, actually, I do have something else. This is like it, it's I think it's a field. I don't actually know if this is a field note or not. I think this is absolute pure witchcraft. Okay. So one of my altars, I have a full setup, a full dedication to my Pombogira. And I bought her roses. I bought her roses from Woolworths. From
Mhm.
Woolworths, like Woolies. Woolies roses, right? 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. They're in pristine condition. 3 weeks ago. They're in
That's
pristine condition.
crazy. That's crazy. 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, one rose wilted, and I was like,
Yeah.
weird. So I removed the wilted rose and I put it out the front. But these roses are just like my sister walked in yesterday and went, oh, they're ghost roses now.
Magina is just like loving her roses.
She really
Wow.
is. I have some of the Dubai chocolate balls, like the pistachio, as little gifts, and I've got some kind of paper or little flowers, and I've got some red candles and some black candles and all that kind of good fun stuff. But these roses have just been there, my friend. I will send you a photo afterwards,
Please. That's
and you can
incredible.
tell me if that's not the most incredible thing you've ever seen.
Wow. I'm totally jealous. I want 3-week roses. That's amazing.
All right, what about you? What is your
Okay. So I've got a
witch's
couple
work
of
table
things
find?
to share. My first find is gum nuts. So I'm showing those on the screen now. These are really fun, very iconic, very Australian. I found this lovely branch the other day with them. I've never come across a branch like this. It's always usually like one or maybe two. So that was really fun finding 5 together. So they're actually hollow on the inside. So I'm going to be filling these with various materia and stopping them up probably with a wax or something like that. And we were chatting earlier before we went on here, and Avalon was talking about protection. Well, we'll talk about more about these in a minute, but protection work. So I think I've been needing to put up more layers around my home. I've really been feeling that because there's a lot of movement happening in my neighborhood right now. Next door, 2 new houses have gone up. On the other side, there was an old Ukrainian lady. She's gone to a nursing home now, so her house is in the process of being sold. And what they're doing in this area is every house they buy, they rip it down and put as much as they can back onto that property. So that will be at least 2 houses, if not more. So there's just a lot of this movement, a lot of this going on. So I just feel like I need to layer up that protection. So I'm going to be doing that with those, amongst other things. And then I guess this is kind of a field note, but it's a realization that I had over the last week. So at the beginning of this year, I started going to the gym, and I've never been to the gym before this. So I'm not a gym person, but I've come to the point where I actually really enjoy going to the gym. Now, I mostly focus on strength training rather than doing cardio stuff. This is important to what I'm about to say. Now, I had a few weeks off recently because I got really sick. And then it was just that, kind of getting back into life. Sometimes it takes a little while to get going again. So I went to the gym for the first time this past Monday, and holy shit, the difference that I felt in my body almost immediately. And I already knew this, but now I've reflected on it because I had that break. Because before then, I was going about 2 to 3 times a week. I've realized that there is nothing I can do that makes me feel more grounded and more connected with my body than lifting a few weights. It's
Mm.
actually insane. And we've spoken over the past few weeks. I've mentioned to you guys about my kind of lack of earth energy. Just to give you a highlight, in my astrology chart, I have one earth placement, and that is my south node. So I make jokes that, like, in a past life, I was grounded, not anymore. But that working out, getting into your body like that, building strength, and I had felt this before from when I began. It takes a few months, I think, for your body to maybe not even that long, to be honest, maybe a month or two, for your body to really start to feel different. And this is without huge effort. Like, I'm not sweating and puffing and killing myself here. I'm spending like 20, 30 minutes lifting a few things. But that presence in myself, wow. Like, I just having that acute difference and really feeling that. So I just want to bring that to people. I don't know if you guys are health conscious. I don't know if you're into working out or whatever, but strength training is really where it's at. And I'm learning this, in terms of health and all of that. Obviously, cardio is important too, but most people will skip, especially women, don't do a lot of strength training. And my darlings, if you do, oh, if you've got any issue with grounding whatsoever, I please want to recommend that you jump into the gym 1 day a week. I think it would just make the most tremendous difference. And especially if you do that for a while, take a little break, go back, you'll feel that whatever the change is for you immediately. So I just wanted to share that.
That's really valuable and quite poignant because I returned to the gym this week. I had almost 2 months off. 1 month I was away, so I didn't have access to my gym. And then the other month I was signing publishing contracts and catching up on the work that I couldn't do and all of that kind of stuff. So this week I was back. To say that I am sore from head to toe is an understatement. Okay. I couldn't walk downstairs yesterday. I could not walk downstairs, but I've been to the gym 3 times this week and I've moved my body. What I will find is that I can get very insular. I am an introverted soul. So I prefer the company of my own home. And when I want to catch up with friends, it's typically at their home, in which I feel very comfortable in. So I found that this week, because I have energized and oxygenated my body and really sort of connected with it, because you become hyper aware of your physicality when you're doing weights, and I do weight training. I think that what happens then is that you bring things to life. Like you bring awareness to places, you bring awareness to different parts of your body. And it's a whole mind body connection that I think a lot of people miss out on. And for women, especially, like our bone density starts to decline after a specific age, and weight training can really help with that as well. So, there, aside from health benefits to the gym, there are actual metaphysical benefits to it. And I've done all sorts of activities. I've been a swimmer, I've done yoga 5 days a week, I've always walked, I've hiked, I've done all different kinds of sports. I was a volleyball player for a while there, and I've done martial arts training, right? So it's different. Every physical activity, it activates a different part of you. But I think because strength training is a very solitary experience. Like, you've got your headphones on or you don't, whatever. I always have an audiobook in my ears and I will be simply focused in my bubble of space.
Mm.
And it's such a connected with self experience. And you have to become aware. Am I trembling? Is my grip strength great? How's my shoulders? Am I in the right posture? Where can I feel this exercise? Where can I feel this activity? I think it brings an enormous amount of mindfulness and awareness into place. Just naturally, it just naturally demands it, and it doesn't feel like you have to focus on these things. You're called to focus on these things. So I think tremendous health benefits, folks. Tremendous health benefits.
Witches, make sure you do your workouts.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to dive into today's episode, which is the Witch's Library. So, in this episode, we're dedicating to one of the most treasured tools in our craft, and that is books. the art of reading, the art of acquiring books, call it what you will. Uh, it really is such a fundamental part of the learning experience. And books are like little portals, I find. Little portals. You open the cover of a new book and you're transported into a different world. That could be an analogy for fiction, and that can be an analogy for nonfiction. It always is an opportunity to discover new value. And I don't believe that reading is something that is ever a waste of time, because even if you are not loving what you're reading, chances are that there will be one sentence, one paragraph, one thought, one notion, something in there that is just going to go, huh. And that's all you need. That is all you need, is for that one little connection to be made in your brain to explore further. And so I do not believe that reading is a waste of time. In fact, I believe that reading is paramount to the learning experience. But not only that, the acquisition of books for witches is quite prevalent, simply because there is so much information to be absorbed in or under the umbrella of witchcraft, and no one can hold that much in their head at one time. So having these titles on your shelf is access to this wisdom, to this knowledge, to this external perspective, call it what you will. Books are absolutely amazing. I love books. I'm an avid reader. So is Owlvine. We do have that in common. We love to curate our libraries. We love the art of reading. Do you have anything to add to that, Owlvine?
I love what you said about, sort of curating a library and not being able to hold all that information. I think one of the most exciting things to me is finding a really good book that I can reference over and over and that I
Mm.
can recommend to others. I just love that. And I think because most of us are solitary, finding good books that touch on the questions that you have is just so valuable. A lot of us struggle to get answers to all the questions that we have, or to find, access teachers and things like that. And this is why books are so powerful and so important. And this is why today we have, it's been painful, you guys. You have no idea, but we have selected from our collections some books to share with you today. We'll be sharing many more in future because it was incredibly hard to distill this down for both of us, but we have some great titles to share with you today to add into your own magical library.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I started with 37. I
That was
started with
this morning.
37.
She's like, I've got 37. Like, well, that's too many.
So then I had to go through and really like sift through. So we have decided that we'll share things in like beginner, intermediate, and more advanced. But first, let's talk about, we've talked a bit about the importance of books in our craft, especially for solitary practitioners, because not everyone has access to a mentor, a coven, a witchy friend. And so a lot of the information that you're desperately wanting can be found in books. That connective, inspiring essence can be found in good books specifically. If you want to be inspired to engage more in your craft, good books will help you there. They will also give you a foundation. They will give you recipes. They will give you information about ingredients. They will give you understanding or deeper understandings about specific practices and specific processes. There is a lot that a book can give you. And if you're brand new to the craft, yes, you could look at YouTube videos, but a book will actually help you to better understand those YouTube videos, because you'll already have the terminology under your belt there, and you'll be able to understand at least some of the basic terminology that is oftentimes used. Things like grounding and centering gets thrown around a lot. There are practices and techniques to grounding and centering. There are also reasons why grounding and centering are paramount to all witches, no matter the practice. And that information you will find in books. Really detailed, good information you will find in books. Likewise, books on different paths within magic, divination systems, because while there is a lot out there on for free that you can sort of search, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, social media have a lot of different personalities sharing a lot of different aspects about the craft. The spirit of the craft is up to you to discover for yourself. And the spirit of the craft is something that you build from the ground up, and it's never from just one source. I sometimes argue with my almost 80-year-old father because he comes in and tells me this information, this political information from one podcast, one person. And I said, I do not accept this. Read widely. He is an avid reader. We just like to banter about this, but read widely, wildly.
Why be wild and
Be
read
wild and
widely.
widely. Yes. So there's always the tried and true authors, absolutely, but it's also worth going outside of those tried and true authors and discovering little gems. Do you have anything to add to that, Owlvine?
Yeah, I mean, I would always recommend that when people ask me for book recommendations. One of the things I say is it really depends, first of all, what you're interested in. But I always recommend reading widely. And to bring in a little bit of what you said earlier, too, even books that aren't that great, I have found almost every single one I've picked up. In fact, I think I could probably say every single one has had at least one, I call them nuggets, nuggets of wisdom, some piece that has been useful. Even if I haven't enjoyed the entire freaking book, it's like there's this passage that was useful. I'm glad I got that, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
reading widely just expands you there. And witchcraft, like you said, it's such a huge, huge umbrella thing. And there's no one good teacher. So, and there's no one person that knows it all. There's so much to know. So, the more you can expand that, the more you can open up your own mind and get your own ideas and really craft a path that's yours, because that's what we're all doing at the end of the day here.
Exactly. Exactly right. So this brings us into our next topic to discuss, and that is the challenge of finding good books on witchcraft and magic. Now, if you've been a practicing witch for a long time, then the idea of an advanced book on witchcraft is going to make you smile because there are those that believe there is no such thing. There are those that believe it depends on what you're looking for or where the gaps in your knowledge exist, etc., etc. So I still believe that there are advanced books. I think there are good intermediate books, and then there are good beginner books. There are more beginner books than there are intermediate to advanced. This is without a doubt. And I do believe that once you have moved through that canon of beginner books, then going to specialist pagan prints or imprints, I should say, are probably beneficial to you because you are then going to be getting occult material specifically. And that's what you want. Once you've moved through the basics, you're going to be looking for different types of occult books, different types of occult bookstores, publishing houses, etc., of which there are many of. Three Hands Press, Scarlet Imprint, to name but a few, right? So finding good books comes down to one of two things, to me at the very least, is where are you? What are you looking for? First and foremost, what are you looking for in your practice? Because chances are there is an old book that would be perfect for you. Not a new book, but an old book. I am one of those people that believe that witchcraft books are a bit same right now. They're just different energies, different essences, but they're all much the same. It's very much the same. How to create a witch's garden, witch's herbs, etc., etc. They're all much the same. So going back to when books were a little bit more like taboo in that time, like going back to 90s and 80s works can be really interesting if you're wanting to, to get something that's a true gem, especially books that have held up against time. There are books in the sphere of witchcraft that have held up across the years. And it's really, really like there's such a collection that still hold quite firm in many witches' libraries. So it's worth having a look at older books rather than getting swept up in the marketing of new books, because that's what we're getting given these days. That's what's being projected to us these days. It's this bombardment of marketing about books, and there is nothing wrong with buying a new book. Some of these new titles are just as good as any of the other old titles. But I also believe in reading and discerning and cultivating and curating a good library for yourself. And that means that you have different books on different subjects rather than all the same types of books just written by different authors. So this is like the issue that a lot of us that have been around for a while have found, is that there's an awful lot of books in the subject of witchcraft. But once you've read 5, you don't really need to read anymore. You've got it. You'll know what the other books contain then. It'll just be presented in a different way. But the good thing about that is that everybody learns differently, and what works for one person might not work for another. So it comes down to your own taste, to the way that you enjoy your literature being delivered to you, and the writing style, the prose of a writer, all of that, has bearing. But when it comes to good books stand out over time. They have been talked about, they have been blogged about. Now, blogs might not be as influential as they once were, but if you can find books in blogs, and you can find them mentioned in multiple blogs, and they're older blogs, you will start to find some really interesting, really good material. Because I think part of the acquisition and the curation of a library is digging for gold. You really do need to be very deliberate in your choices. Books cost money, big money these days. We've got a rising cost of living vibe here in Australia. So being very discerning with your cash and what that will give you is going to be paramount in the experience. So that's a little something from me on how to find good books. Owlvine, no doubt, has more wisdom for you.
I agree, and I want to double down on that. I think actively looking is the key. What are you interested in? What topics do you want to learn about? Where are we expanding our practice here? Actively go out and look for books on that. Don't just sit back and be marketed to. Because if you sit back and be marketed to, you're going to get a bunch of shitty fucking books that you've already read before, right? Because there are going to be all the new stuff, all the easy to sell stuff, which is for new witches, because most people are new witches. And people who are like vaguely not even really witches will buy that stuff too, right? So of course, there's more of that. So don't sit back and just let that marketing come to you. Look at those books by all means. Some of them are brilliant that have come out over the last few years. Absolutely. And we've got a few, I think, too, a few new ones to share today. But really that is the key, in my opinion, is you going out to find them rather than having them come to you. The other one is, of course, to get recommendations. So to find those witches that you trust and to gather their recommendations. Again, being very careful if they're pushing what you're seeing all over Instagram already, because that's a marketing push. And there's a lot of that going on these days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Yeah.
it. And just check your reviews. So again, I think I spoke about this another time, but one of the tricks that I use is I go down to the reviews and I look at the negative. I mean, I look at all of them, but I look at the negative reviews in particular and see what people are complaining about. And I go, is this actually a genuine complaint, or is it just like, I disagree with this thing, or this is too Wiccan, or this is not Wiccan enough, or whatever. Like people literally, these are the complaints. And then I go, fantastic, this book is probably great, or whatever. So actively look, don't just sit back and be marketed to, get your recommendations and look at your reviews.
Yep. It is a process of discernment. It really is. And again, just reach back into the history books, because very recently, and I can give you an example of this, very recently, the Green Witchcraft series by Erin Murphy Hiscock, or something like that. Anyway, she did the Green Witchcraft series, right? And It was beautiful and it was very, very popular. She has multiple books now out, right? People flocked to it. It was a highly, highly successful book to begin with, and it's multiplied now. So she's got other books. But if you've been around for a minute, and I'm going to speak to all the witches of my era here, if I said to you Anne Moira's Green Witchcraft series, you would know exactly what I'm talking about because that was the original Green Witchcraft series. And so all other Green Witchcraft series come in large part thanks to Anne Moira's Green Witchcraft series. And she had a, a really great selection of books. She's also responsible for the Green Witches Tarot. And in that, the Green Witches Guidebook. So this is what I'm talking about. Yes, you can go for Erin's book, The Green Witchcraft, because the marketing might be better, the book might be better laid out, the way in which it's been written might be a bit more simplistic. But Anne Moira is of that 80s, 90s witchcraft ilk. The prose is different, the writing style is different. It's a banger series. And it was highly, highly sought after and spoke of in those early years of witchcraft and the resurgence of witchcraft. Just know that you've got options and that there is a point of origin for all of this literature that you see. So just thought I'd add that a little bit there.
Awesome. Should we get into some book show and tell now?
Absolutely.
All right. How do you want to do this? Do you want to do one for one, beginners books, and then move through the
You
intermediate?
do your beginners,
All right.
I'll do my beginners.
All right. Okay, you guys. All right. The very first. Wow, it's so exciting. We're so excited. We're nerds over here. So the first one I've got to show you is Magical Power for Beginners: How to Raise and Send Energy for Spells That Work by Deborah Lip. So I'm just going to hold that up to the screen for anyone watching. Now, this is your how-to spell work. This is all about raising, shaping, sending out energy. This is everything you need to know to be a powerful witch and to work powerful magic. So it's a step-by-step primer on energy work. She goes through breathing, she goes through focus, how to move rhythmically, how to release. This is aimed at like beginners. So if you are brand new to magic, brand new to spell casting, this is the one that I would definitely recommend. And even if you've been at it for a little while, this book will fill in all the gaps for you. When I read it, I was probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years down my path, but I was like, damn, I didn't feel like I necessarily learned anything new at that point, but it gave me a lot of language for things. So I've actually found that really helpful, as a teacher as well. But this is one that I recommend to everybody. It's so good. There's zero fluff, tons of exercises, and it's, good for any path or tradition that you're part of as well. It's just the foundational basics. So there's grounding, centering, shielding in here. There is building and holding a charge. She talks about using takes you through how to choose carriers, as she calls them, for your spells, voice, movement, the tools that you'll select for your spell crafting as well. She also talks about cleansing and safely releasing, and she talks about post-spell hygiene, which can be very important as well. So there aren't correspondences and different things like that in here. This is your how to work witchcraft book. So it doesn't have the history and all that kind of stuff in there, but it's the techniques. It's everything you actually need to know and do to cast very powerful magic. So that's the first one. The next one is Crossroads of Conjure: The Roots and Practices of Granny Magic, Hoodoo, Brujeria, and you might be able to help me on my pronunciation here, Avalon. Carandismo that's how I say it.
Unusual.
All right, that was pretty good then. By Katrina Rasbold. Now, I haven't actually opened this particular copy. I read this as an ebook, and oh my God, I loved it. So This is a book that's all about American folk magic lineages. Okay, so Granny magic is Appalachian or Ozark magic. Some of you may have heard that term instead, but it's broken into those different traditions, and she goes through the history of each one, which I really appreciated, the core methods of each tradition, and examples from them as well. So there's a lot in here about choosing materials as well and the basics of these different traditions. So mojos, brick dust, working with saints and various spirits. She talks about working the roads. She talks about working crossroad magic. And there's a lot about, community and ethics and things like that in there as well. She's a really awesome teacher. So if you're at all interested in American folk magic specifically, this is a wonderful primer. And she's a good writer too. I just really enjoyed sitting in the book with her. The next one is Rebel Witch by Kellyanne Maddox. Now, Kellyanne has an amazing YouTube channel that you guys can check out, but this is the book that I wish I had when I was a new witch. So this book is all about helping you to build a practice that actually fits you. It's so personalized. It's so out of the box. There's a lot of kind of chaos magic concepts in here. If you're familiar with Kellyanne's work, nothing in here is going to shock you, right? But she's laid it out so beautifully. It's really simple and easy to read. The layout is lovely. And there's just a lot of really unique ideas in here that I've never seen written in any other magical books personally, not to say that it's not out there. But it's this book that's very strong on your personal sovereignty and really crafting your path how you want it to be. I love that voice in there. She's big on shadow work, so there's a bunch of stuff in there about that. And she just talks about turning inspiration from wherever it comes from, super outside of the box, into magical habits, into your craft. So it's really, really helpful in that way. There's lots of beginner-friendly outlines, and here's how you can start crafting your practice. There isn't necessarily like recipe style spells in here. She does go through some basic stuff like the sabbats, that very sort of basic foundational witchcraft knowledge as well. But a lot of it is really about designing your own practice. So love, love, love this one and highly recommend. And then the last beginner's book, this was my last book that I ended up choosing, and I really struggled because there were so many other books I wanted to share with you, but this one was pivotal in my own craft. So I thought I would share it, and it's beautifully written. And that is Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. I've actually got another book in this collection I want to show you by Ted Andrews. He is an amazing author. So he's one of the old school ones as well that I had no idea. I had Animal Speak for years and years. And then I came across some of his other books and I was like, oh my God, this guy. But this book is fabulous. If you haven't heard it before, it breaks down various animals. So at the start, it goes through all kinds of things like how to connect with the animals in meditation and ritual. And it gives you all those kind of basic primers, divination, all kinds of things. But then you go into the animals. So not all animals are in here. I found there aren't a lot of obviously native Australian animals, for example, although there are magpies and different birds that might be across lands. But I love this book. It's so beautifully written, and I really connect with animal energy. And I find that particularly at the beginning of my craft, a lot of my witchcraft spiritually was focused on that animal magic, that animal energy, working with them. So it may be something that you're drawn to, it may not. It could be something considered something maybe a little bit more shamanic. But yeah, if you're at all interested in animals, if you're interested in learning the omen meanings of seeing various animals, then I would definitely recommend this. I know he's got a pocket size edition or something like that as well, which is very similar. So it has the animals, but just a few, like a small passage, I think, for each one, rather than this book, which is like several pages for some of them. So that is my final recommended beginner book. What have you got for us, Avalon?
First of all, I was aware of Kellyanne's book, Rebel Witch, but then I thought, it's probably a beginner book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that you're holding it up. I'm like, oh my God, is it hardcover? Is it a
It
hardcover book?
is. It's a
The
hardcover.
cover of it is absolutely stunning. Like,
Just
can I ask who was the publisher for it?
good question. And I do know as well, she's had it published in other languages, and I think French or something, and the cover's different. I think it's like more purple. It's
Yeah,
really
they
cool.
often do that.
All right, let me have a look.
Is it on the spine?
Here we go. Okay, Watkins Media. Artwork, Jenny Lloyd.
Nice.
Jenny Lloyd is the one who created that. It's beautiful.
So Watkins published it.
Yes.
Excellent. Well done. Well done, Kellyanne. Well done. Oh,
She did good.
what a little
She's done us.
legend. All right. Well, I'll get into mine. I have to lean down to pick it up. So I shall pop them on my lap. So I'm going to start off with, I'm so glad I found this. I was telling Owlvine that I have a decent collection of books, and I've been collecting books for a long time. And this is one of those books that I collected in my maybe teens, early 20s. This is an Australian author too, by the way. For an Australian Witch podcast, we had to have some
Yay.
Australian authors here. So this one here, this poor book has seen better days, is Everyday Magic by Cassandra Carter. It's this one right here. And this is like a Celtic Book of Ways kind of witchcraft vibe. The energy is simple folk magic of a Celtic inspired nature that has been woven delicately into the construction of simple spells. Like, I still remember this. I read this 2 decades ago, right? That's when I last really went through it. And I distinctly remember she was constructing in it, she was describing the construction of a charm, and everything was so symbolic. She would put a pinch of salt to ground the charm, a little feather to give the charm wings, and so on and so forth. So it was very deliberate, very folk magic, very delicate, very, very beautiful, simplistic. I actually have a bookmark here. Oh, look at that. Look at how aged my paper is.
So pretty, so yellow and lovely.
I know. So health and healing. So it's got a little bit of a compendium, if you will, inside. Mental clarity, element of air, sun, yellow or gold, candles, oils of frankincense, bergamot, rosemary, lavender, clary sage. So one of the things that I did want to share about this book, it is so perfect for beginners. It is just a beautiful book. I don't even know if this is in print yet, but still, I mean, but if you find it, get it, because it's so lovely. But the author used to write for Blue Healers.
Which is the old Aussie TV show, for those who don't know.
Exactly. So from another Australian witch, Ahmed Sage, this is the Wild Witches Compendium. Now, I originally found this one on TikTok. Some beautiful little Aussie witch was talking about this book, and I was like, how do I not know about this? I obtained it very quickly because I was like, outstanding. This is exactly what I need. Now, I think that this is the skeleton of a really great book. And this is no shade to the author or anything like that. For a beginner, it's the bones. It is the bones. It's divided alphabetically. You have flora, fauna, mineral. There is a lot in here, but it's very small pieces of information per entry, that kind of thing. One thing that kind of annoyed me is that there is no real glossary. The glossary is broken into themes like justice and revenge, or love, or money, or memory and focus, that kind of thing. And I would have loved an alphabetical, what is the word now?
Index?
And glossary.
Glossary,
Yes.
See, I quite like that feature that you just spoke about, like the breakdown with the different energies or whatever, but both, right? Not one or the other. Let's have both.
Yeah. Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical
Mm,
Herbs has both. So
perfect.
if you want to alphabetically look for a herb, you have that alphabetical listing and then the page association. Or if you want to search out a group of herbs by intention or magical property or magical uses, you've got that also. And I think that that's what's missing here. But otherwise, very witchy Australian, specifically for Australian witches. I haven't dived too deeply into this one. Like I said, I have dozens of books on herbal magic, dozens. And I decided to go for this one simply because it is new, it is Australian. I thought that it would be well received here on our Australian Witchy podcast. And I could see myself reaching for it once I understand the way in which it's been laid out,
Mm.
but all very Australian. So if that's your bag, go for this one. Then I have Hoodoo Cleansing and Protection Magic, because I think foundational protection, cleansing. That's foundational magic. So if you're going to learn magic from the very beginning, if you're at the very beginning of your practice, you start with grounding and centering because you work on self first, and then you go and you jump into protection and cleansing. Protection and cleansing. You'll do it regularly. You should do it all the time. Protection magic is something that you do so regularly that you may as well learn it early in your practice and get very, very good at it. So this is very hoodoo inspired. But the thing with hoodoo is, yes, it has been considered a closed practice. So take it as inspiration. There is a supplementary kind of, there's a conclusion there, there's a bibliography there if you're interested, and it's quite the nice little bibliography. Go through there and see what books sort of jump out at you and how you can modify what you find here to make it more authentic to your own practice and less about cultural appropriation to someone else's practice or some other culture's practice. So great foundational information. And in here, the way that she describes the need for protection is universal. Doesn't matter what culture you come from. The way that she places importance on specific practice, again, very universal and not necessarily linked to any particular culture. The energy, the essence of this book transcends culture in a way. There are certain practices that are very hoodoo and therefore comprised of closed practices, but totally up to you. And then my last beginner book is an encyclopedia,
So pretty.
because you have to have one. This is the Encyclopedia of Mythology, Norse, classical, Norse, classical, and Celtic. So when we're beginning on our path of witchcraft, the gods are everywhere. The gods are everywhere. You'll hear the Morrigan, you'll hear Freya, you'll hear Odin. Oh my gosh. Or Athena, or you'll hear Diana, or you'll hear Aphrodite, or Venus, you'll hear Hathor. You'll hear so many different names, so many different deity names. Now, I do have another encyclopedia just for my Egyptian practice. But this one here, because it had all three, I thought it would be really good, because you'll get the planetary associations, you'll get this historical kind of mythological aspect to each of the gods. And it's quite a good amount of information that you get. You get the heroes. It's broken into the heroes of like classical mythology. And then you can go and actually search the founders, and the art is beautiful. Like, look at the art. Look at the art.
Oh, beautiful, like old paintings, like oil paintings, so
Yes.
detailed. Gorgeous.
So beautiful, very Botticelli-esque, very sort of romantic, pre-Raphaelite kind of energy there. But we have every little deity that you could possibly think of alphabetically listed in such a good amount of information. For instance, Juno was a Roman equivalent to Hera. So it's got it listed here. And you've got the wife of Zeus, the chief god of the Greeks. Juno was the queen of the sky and the wife of Jupiter. So you have this mythology and its associated qualities as well, which makes it such a great book. I've had this one since I was 19 years old.
Wow. That's so special. And when Avalon pulled out this encyclopedia, I was like, I think I want to change my book choices. I need to include some encyclopedias, but I didn't.
So they are all my beginner books, which now leads us into intermediate works. This is where things get a little bit tricky, okay? Because again, it depends on how you like to learn, your level of learning already, etc., etc. But we're progressing and we're keeping our selections quite general, okay? So that it's accessible to all.
Yes. All right, I've got a few of my very favorite books here to share with you. Actually, anyway, let's talk about the books. So the next one is Ted Andrews, which we mentioned earlier. So this one is How to Develop and Use Psychometry. So this is an older book. Let me just quickly I think it was 95. Yeah, so this was published in 1995. I don't believe it's in print anymore. So I did toss up mentioning it or not, but oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. If you can manage to find it, I did. I found it online. So I managed to find a fairly cheap copy. So it's one of those ones that you might find somewhere out there in the wild, or Avalon's having a look now, I think. So we'll see if it's a little bit more reasonable. I think the last time I checked, it was $100 and something, one of those ridiculous prices.
Oh, How to Develop Psychometry, that exact book?
Yep.
World of Books, used 1849.
All right. Who's going to get it? There's one left. Let's go. So I loved this book. I'm not big into psychometry necessarily, but I'm big into divination as a whole. And I found that this book actually really helped to expand my knowledge on divination in general. It's very, very practical. So this is 90s, right? How to. It's a how-to 90s book. So good. Filled with
So good.
just filled with all the things that you really want to know. It's not all this fluff and pomp and whatever. It's like good, solid information. So there are tons of exercises in here to train your sensitivity, your focus, and your divinatory techniques. It's very much based on skills building. Okay, so it's very practical, but also just an enjoyable read. I have to say this, I'm not going to mention the book, but there is a book out there that is very how-to, and it got really big, and I just found it such a pain to read. Like, yeah, fantastic. There's so many exercises, but it's like I couldn't enjoy the process of reading. Like it had to be picked up just a little bit every day kind of thing. Like it was just, I didn't enjoy it at all. But this book has both. So it's got the exercises in there, but also just, I don't know, maybe readers will understand this, but just that enjoyable read that's here as well. But yes, very 90s, very how-to, and just gold for exercises. And I have so much underlined in here. It's unbelievable. But I would just like to say, in general, if you come across anything by Ted Andrews, he is awesome. We love Ted.
I've got to say, before you move on, psychometry was such a big deal when I was 19, 20 years old. I'd moved into a house. I was all about psychometry. People would bring me their stuff and I would play around with it. Like I wanted to be really good at it. I got invited into people's houses to touch like antique cupboards and trinkets and things like that. So good. But I will say this, if you are going to enter into psychometry, it is a psychic skill that is still linked to intuitive quality. It's about reading the energy of an object. So again, you have to be consciously aware of the flow of energy, and it requires a lot from you to do. It really requires you to have really good spirits, really good spiritual practice. All divination, I would say, does, but psychometry in particular, it's very spirit work stuff.
Psychometry particularly, I've heard people, okay, so by the way, and I didn't mention, so for those who don't know, psychometry is psychic touch, right? So reading things through touch. And I've heard some horror stories of people like going through charity stores or whatever and going, let's see what we can pick up today, and just like, getting some crazy shit. So, but again, this book lays it out from beginning to end. So if you want to do it safely and well, then I would recommend that one.
Exactly.
The next one is also about divination, actually, and this is by Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who has a bunch of other books out there that are really good too. She has the Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits, which I have of hers as well. Not showing it to you, so it doesn't count, but just mentioning it. So this is The Art of Black Mirror Scrying. It's quite a little book, But my God, I loved this one. I absolutely loved this one.
I like a bit of Black Mirror scrying.
Yeah, so this book is great for learning how to Black Mirror scry specifically, but also mirror scry and scry in general. I felt like a lot of the wisdom that she kind of laid out in here would be helpful for any form of scrying that you're doing, and even other things that would be helpful for other forms of divination too, because a lot of it, of course, plays into each other. There are other specific techniques, but then there is, the core of, your divination energy work, right? That practice. But this is filled with, I've got so many highlights in here. Like she just, oh, it was just one of those books that I just absolutely loved reading. So she goes through everything you need to know from beginning to end. Again, there are clear exercises in here. She talks about your ritual hygiene. There's step-by-step guidance on crafting your own black mirror, cleansing that mirror, how to set up your room and your space. So there's the mundane aspects in here as well. Very well laid out, and she has a lot of why in here, which I appreciate. This is why we're doing this thing. This is why we say this, rather than just you have to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. So she's a really good teacher in that way. But you'll learn how to consecrate the mirror, the lighting and the angles, how to enter a trance. And she also talks you through techniques for unpacking your experience as well. So, journaling and jotting down your impressions and just how to unpack things moving through. And then, of course, at the end, how to close your working and how to ground afterwards. But really brilliant for any kind of scrying work. I loved that book so much. Next, we have another one by Katrina Rasbold. Katrina's a really awesome teacher. She also has a YouTube channel as well, but she's got a ton of books out there. And she's been teaching for, I believe, over 2 decades. So a long time. So she's really, got that beautiful teacher voice down. So this book is Uncrossing. Identify, cleanse, and heal from hexes, curses, and psychic attacks. So it's basically what it sounds like. It's an amazing toolkit for diagnosing attacks, including the ones that you put on yourself, right? And how to remove all of that. She's got step-by-step protocols on how to do everything, how to set up a healing space, how to do proper rituals and baths or showers, how to do an egg cleanse. I loved this. So I don't think I've ever seen an egg cleanse broken down quite so much as in this book. She's got several sections, everything you need to know about that, including how to read the egg as well. There's sacred sprays in here, smokes, all kinds of things. So she goes through basically how you separate Malefica from life noise, right? Like, how do you know that you've got some nasty magic on you rather than just, it's just life? So she goes through that cleansing, repairing, rewarding, and maintaining your protections. And she tells you how to track symptoms and, get those outcomes that you want. This is your basic one-stop shop for cleansing work. Absolutely love this book. And then the
I think I
last,
want that book.
it's Avalon.
I've written it down. I've written it on the
Avalon.
list.
We knew today both of us were going to be picking up, more for our wish lists. All right, the last one I've got to show you. This could be put into the beginner's one. I feel like, again, a lot of them could be. It really depends on what your specific knowledge base is. But this is Low Magic by Lon Milo Duquette. And the little, I don't know what you would call this, the little byline, I guess, it's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head is. Now, I wanted to include this because Lon Milo Duquette is one of my favorite authors. He is so funny. He's hilarious. He's very much into ceremonial magic. I believe there might be some other traditions he's explored as well and written about, but mostly his thing is ceremonial magic. So for me, that's quite outside of my wheelhouse personally, but anything he writes, I will read because he just has me in stitches. So this is mostly more of a memoir. So this isn't like, how to do this, how to do that, but He's so funny, and he takes you through real life stories of his and real life rituals and different experiences that he's had. And he demystifies high magic as well. He makes it very accessible if you are interested in a more ceremonial magic study, let's say. So, really love him and recommend anything by him.
Nice. Also, the terms high magic and low magic are very old school 90s. They're now considered a little, in poor taste. But I still know witches that use this terminology because it's just been around for such a long time. But high magic is ceremonial magic, lodge magic, grimoire magic, that kind of magic. And low magic is, in fact, folk magic.
Practical.
It is practical, hands-on folk magic of all different cultures. So in case you didn't know, there's your differentiation. All right, into my intermediate books.
So excited.
I would like to preface this, but I cannot be bothered. So we're going to start off with Traditional Witchcraft, a Cornish Book of Ways. Now, the reason why I have this in intermediate is there is an inordinate amount of books on traditional witchcraft. I'm reading one for my Patreon book club at the moment. And hang on, I'll show you it. No, I could have shown you.
It's right behind you. I can see it.
It's right behind me. So this is The Crooked Path. So this is a beginner how-to, fully introductory kind of experience as a read.
And it's very
Whereas
good.
This is a glimpse into an experienced witch's practice. That's the difference. That's the different energy there. And this is such a beautiful book. This is a privilege to read. Gemma Gary is an incredible writer. She writes, you can feel the witchcraft.
You walk into ritual with her, don't you? As soon as she starts,
like it's so like it's summoning and it's so incredible. I have a bookmark in here, but I don't think it's for anything in particular. But there are charms in here. There are practices. There's describing certain elements of the practice, but there's also talking about well-known folk witches. And I have something underlined. Let's read it. This is exciting. A place between the worlds. The method may also have the benefit, if it is done well, of stirring and gathering sproul, which can be drawn upon when the desired state of mind is achieved. A traditional Cornish witch's tool, useful for inducing trances and the state of becoming, is the Troy stone, also known as the Maisie stone, from the Cornish mazed, meaning to be of maddened, entranced, or intoxicated state. See what I mean? It's not for the beginner. And it's very cultural. It's a glimpse. It really is a glimpse into a practice. So absolutely solid. And Gemma Gary prolifically writes in the vein of traditional Cornish witchcraft. So she's got many a great book. The next is a staple of all intermediate witches' practices. You can even start cultivating this as a beginner, but I think spirits are overwhelming to beginner witches. So learning about spirits is one thing. Learning how to cultivate spirits in your life, spirit allies, etc., more intermediate. So Honoring the Ancestors, A Guide to Ancestral Veneration by Mallory. I can't even begin to pronounce her last name.
I always say Vidois, but I don't think that's right. Not at all. I think it's French. Something lovely, probably.
Well, yes, it is. Yeah, it's got that little French tone to it. But one of the aspects of this book, well, two of the aspects of this book that I really like and I think is so well worth learning, and I have never found a book like this, and I read widely. So it's Who Are Your Ancestors? This is not as common as you would think. This is not just, there's no common answer to that. You think my ancestors are my great, 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 great grandparents, my family bloodlines, but ancestors go beyond that, truthfully, and the influence of ancestors specifically. And so learning who your ancestors are, learning how to frame the concept of ancestors so that you can access that same concept through magic is paramount to the experience. Then we have healing ancestral trauma, because this is one of the biggest hurdles that you will encounter when you start ancestral magic. You are pulling energy from a different time. These people are coming with a certain level of familiarity with the world, but coming with their own biases and their own prejudice and their own traumas into the space. The more recent the ancestor, the heavier that biases will be. And so this is about how to heal and how to move through that with grace and spiritual hygiene and all of that kind of good fun stuff. So it talks about how to set up an ancestral altar, which you can Google, yes, but it's just nice to read in context with everything else that is in this book. But absolutely lovely, lovely, lovely book. Absolutely necessary. I don't know a book like it. There was a huge gap in the market prior to this book. That's what I will say.
Agreed. It's your one-stop ancestor book. Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's written more from an African perspective, the Yoruba practice, the Haitian voodoo, the Brazilian Umbanda, the Candomblé. It's very, very much anchored into the spirits of the old world. And the reason for that is because practices like voodoo, like Candomblé, like Umbanda, they practice the horsing of spirits, so ritual spirit possession. And so, because of that interactive component, they're constantly consulting with spirits that are incorporated or embodied. So, they get an awful lot of information from these spirits. Books are written through the wisdom of these spirits, and so on and so forth. So, it is perhaps the best lens by which to view ancestral practices. Now we have, because we need it, it's Hoodoo Candle Magic.
So good.
This could have been a beginner book, but before you practice magic, there comes a lot more information gathering. So I like to put this one in intermediate. And this is a small yet mighty book. It will tell you the type of candle. It will tell you why specific candles are used. When we use the term novena candle, when we use the term pillar candle, taper candle, things like that, they may be well known to you, but there's a reason why each candle is used in magic. The bigger the candle, the better the magic. Size does matter. You will never, ever, ever see me working magic with a tea light candle. Not under any circumstance, ever. I just want to be very clear with that, okay? Again, metal and magic. I think I'm building you can build a profile on me now. Sorry, metal and magic. But really great. And it's jam-packed. Like, it is jam-packed with information here. All the practicals, all the how-tos, how to fix a candle, which is to magically anoint candles and magically prepare candles, because that's part of the magic, the right color candle for the right, kind of work, all of that. There are many candle magic books. This is probably one of the better ones. Very dense. All the fat has been trimmed. So you're going to get straight up information in here. And that's more suited to a more intermediate read.
That's the best thing about those Lucky Mojo books is they're skinny, but all of the fat is cut out and everything in there is like meat. It's so good.
So good. So good. I have so many of them.
Me too.
So my last intermediate book is, I think this is just funny, okay? I'll hold it up here for you. My book club and I went through this one. This is why it's so tabbed up like this, because we went through this one, I don't know, a couple of years ago. We really studied it and we had such a great time. Now, I was a bit skeptical because it says the only astrology book you'll ever need is by Joanne Martin Woolfolk, right? Upon finishing this book, my entire book club and myself agree that this is indeed the only astrology book you will ever need. If you know nothing about astrology, finish this book and you will have the best understanding. You will even know how to read your own chart. And that's all you could ask for in a book. That's all you could ask for. Once you know how to read your own chart, once you understand aspects of your chart, you can create magic in alignment with planetary alignments. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking good. And yet it's been around for a really long time. And the title is a bit like, But is it though? Is it? It is, okay?
Confirmed.
So that's my intermediate selection, which brings us to advanced material, which is the most controversial collection.
For sure. You're always going to get people saying, "Oh, you think that's advanced, do you?" Now, we chose these based on, they really could be interchangeable. So, advanced is like what is new to you, what haven't you looked into yet, where are your knowledge gaps, all of this. So, what's going to be advanced to one person is going to be, elementary to someone else, maybe. But this is more, we decided to go into specific subjects, right?
Mm.
Now, since you just mentioned that astrology book, I am going to mention this one first, and that is Practical Astrology for Witches and Pagans. This is using planets and the stars for effective spell work, rituals, and magical work by Ivo. Yo, how do I say this? Dominiquez. Sorry, there it is on the screen. I've
Oh, yeah.
no idea how to pronounce
Dominiquez.
that.
Yeah.
There you go. I've got a couple of books from Ivo. He's really good. I think he, them, not sure. Anyway, okay, so it's been a minute since I went through this book, but when I picked it up again, I was like, oh my God, I really need to go through this book again. So, this book will show you how to use astrology for spell timing, for your ritual design, for your magical diagnostics. So, there is mm, there is a little bit of beginner information in here, but you really do need to have a grounding of astrology, or you're just going to be so lost beyond chapter one. It doesn't teach you astrology, it teaches you how to use astrology, if that makes sense. So it's really good it's got examples in there. Some of his spell work was like really cool. I was like, that's awesome. I'm going to use that. So lots of sigil work, and that kind of thing. But this book is really amazing if you want to go beyond the moon phases, right? And really ground astrology into your practice. It's got far more in here than just spell timing. There's just so many aspects of astrology. I think this is a really fabulous book. Again, if you've got a grounding in astrology or you're just going to be so lost, but it's very concept heavy. That's what I found. There wasn't a lot of simple, here's a thing for you to just kind of copy and do. It's more like he's given you these ideas around how to do it, and you've got to like inject that into your own craft. So that's why I've added it into the more advanced category here.
Nice.
So it's a good one. The next one is one of my most favorite books of all fucking time, and that is A Deck of Spells by Professor Charles Porterfield. This is one of the Lucky Mojo books as well, so it's very skinny, 96 pages. But this book is all about how to use your cards in spell work. So he doesn't talk about tarot necessarily in here, although I think there might be a section where he talks about the mages actually. But there's a lot in here that you can take what you learn from playing cards and bring that into tarot as well, more with the minor arcana, right? Because you've got very similar cards there, some of the court cards as well. But there if you love cards and you love witchcraft, don't walk, run, right? It is just one of those beautiful books with so much in here. So he talks about the meanings of the playing cards. And what I loved about this, so this is the divination interpretation, but he's actually got a bunch of different sources in there. So he's like, here's my meanings, here's this person's meanings, here's that person's meaning.
Mm.
So it's rounded out in that really beautiful way. And then the end of the book is just tons of spell work. So for every single card, actually, there's multiple, I think. Yeah, there's just so many good, really cool spells in here. And again, it shows you various techniques. So you could use this, even if you found something in here and you're like, I want to work with the tarot. There are so many techniques of how you can actually physically work with the cards that you can translate elsewhere in your practice. So I absolutely adore this one. It's one of my faves. And then the last book, there's two here, but they're kind of the same. That is the red folder and the black folder. Now, these are also Lucky Mojo books. These books are actually collections of handouts from workshops. So the company, I think it's the Missionary Independent Spiritual Church. I don't remember. It's all one big company. Anyway, whatever it is, an aspect of that company puts on workshops every single year. And so they invite out a bunch of different teachers, and everyone, has their own class that they do. And all of them have to write up a handout as well. And so this is the collection of all the handouts from over the years. The black folder, I believe, is the first one, then the red folder. And I know that the next one that will be coming out, which, is, I can't remember how far back it is, but that's several years they're collecting them. That's going to be the blue folder. So I'm hanging out for that. But these books, how do I even describe these books? There is so much in here. There's card magic in here. There's the history of hoodoo. There's Saint Martha. There's working with Catholic saints for love. There's using skulls and skull candles. There's shamanic bone reading. There's hands-on conjure for cleansing and blessing. Just sigil magic, drawing steady customers, like just an array of all kinds of topics. In one of these books, I think it's the black one, there's a really great tarot section as well.
Yeah, I think the black one is for divination and the red one is for magic.
I think they're all different. So is the table of contents from the black folder, working with spiritual supplies, and there's a bunch of different things under that, working with candles. Then there's mojos, bottles and jars. Then we've got cookery, so cooking in the kitchen. Divination. Then there are different spiritual conditions: cleansing, protection, love spells, luck, reversing, court case spells, life-changing spells, prayer and spirituality, like literally all the things. So I wouldn't recommend these books to people who are newer at the craft, just because there's a ton of basic information that's not in there. But if you're intermediate or advanced, oh my God, do yourself a favor. They are brilliant. So many wonderful things.
There isn't a experienced witch that I know, that I actively know, that do not own those books.
There you go.
So get amongst it.
They're very good.
I just wanted to say too that, that book on playing cards? I'm going to breadcrumb you all. Okay. So playing cards are actually a very unique kind of magic. There are 52 cards in a playing card deck to the 52 weeks of the year.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 suits for the 4 seasons. There is a lot to be discovered in playing cards that associate, it'll blow your mind. If you add all of the numbers, all of the values of each of the cards up, it'll equate to 365. So it's crazy. Yeah. So just to give you a little something, there's a reason why playing cards were the original reading material. That went from playing cards to Lenormand to tarot. Oracle now exists, that kind of stuff. But playing cards is its own fucking magic. So worth it. Absolutely.
And awesome for spell work. I actually really love playing cards in spell work because they're so inexpensive, and you can, fuck up the cards and do whatever you need to them and not worry that, you're ruining a tarot deck.
Yeah, that's so worth it because I've had to replace decks. All right. So here are my advanced books. Okay. Gonna start off with the Lucky Mojo, Paper in My Shoe. This is in-depth petition magic, folks. The good stuff. It's complicated, it's complex. Try writing your power phrase in a circle without lifting your pen.
It's so hard. I use that technique all the time, and it's like, it's not easy.
It's a vibe. It is absolutely a vibe. You'll have some gibberish to really get into the style of petition paper, the way that you fold your petition paper, the way that you write out your petition paper. There's a little sigil stuff in here. It's so It's such a good primer, but
Mm.
definitely more for the advanced, intermediate to the advanced
So
practitioner.
detailed. It's everything you could possibly ever not even know that you wanted to know about petitions.
Fact, fact, fact. Right, which brings me to the 13 Pathways of Occult Herbalism by Daniel Schulke.
Such a beautiful cover.
It is. Now, this one is a three hands press book. When I was talking to you about, reaching out beyond normal publications, because we have our Llewellyns, we have our rock pools, we have our Blue Angels, rock pool and Blue Angel here in Australia specifically, Animal Dreaming as well here in Australia specifically. But outside, we have Scarlet Imprint, we have Three Hands Press, and there's another one. There's a couple more anyway. But this one here is a very narrative style, overly romanticized in an occult way, the nature of materials, the nature of herbalism.
Mm.
It's got the pathway of the virgin. And the way that it's broken up is very mythological. It's very, let me journey through the layers of occult with you. It's complicated and beautiful, and it's a very thin book. But by the time you're finished reading it, you are going to feel like a druid alchemist.
Ooh.
Yes, yes, you will. Some love this book, some hate this book. I still think that it's worth mentioning because I do enjoy a polarizing title, but I think that this is classically occultish. And because we're talking about herbalism specifically, it's the way in which the energy of these pathways to herbalism radiate. It's accessing the energy pathways. It's very
Ooh,
interesting, very complicated, very complex.
I'm deeply intrigued. I've written that one down.
Then I had to bring something from my own culture. We have African cowrie shell divination. So I think for all of the witches out there, the African pantheon, the Yoruba pantheon, the Orisha, let's go there, the Orisha are perhaps the most ambiguous, not because there isn't enough information, but oftentimes because information on the Orisha is in different languages. There's a vast majority of information on Orisha written in Portuguese, in Spanish, in French. So African cowrie shell divinations, in my culture, they're called buzus. And so they are opened, closed cowrie shells, and spirits use them and mediums use them to divine the messages and the nature of the fortunes from the Odisha specifically. So you will hardly find information on African cowrie shell divination. So you've got it all in one book. It's super fun. If you have a foundation in understanding the Odisha, for instance. So here you have Oshun, you have Emanja, you have Obatala, you will have these names are not known per se. They're not Hades, they're not Odin, they're not Aphrodite, they're not known as prevalently in witchcraft specifically, but there is a lot of power to the Odisha, a lot of power. And this divination style can be so incredibly interesting. This is the type of divination that you practice in the quiet sanctuary of a sacred space. This is the kind of divination that you practice that the candles will flicker, the wind will lift a little bit. It's an elementally activating experience. So beautiful, beautiful. And lastly, this is for all of the scholars out there. You'll like this one. Cunning Folk and Familiar Spirits by Emma Wilby. So it is, as it says it will, but this is a very anthropological, academic look at. Oh, so good. It's so good. If you're super into your nerd reading, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, you have human spirit, the meeting, you have the working relationship, you have strange intimacies, That's definitely a part of familiar spirits kind of vibe. But this is such contacting fairies, renunciating a pact and pact kind of work. It is so intricate. It's a little, because it's cunning folk, familiar spirits. There is spirits of the land. There is folk magic in here. There's the spirit of folk magic. Cunning folk are very British origin kind of vibes. And so when we're talking about traditional witchcraft, specifically of more the Gemma Gary Cornish variety, that's where this book connects. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. If you're in the mood for familiar spirits, to understand things like the fetch beast and like what happens in like when you journey, or the nature of a familiar spirit, because every culture looks at familiar spirits from that witchcraft lens as different. A familiar spirit can be the toad. A familiar spirit can be an actual spirit. A familiar spirit can be a demon, depending on the culture that you come from, right? So familiar spirits are very, very complicated, interesting aspects in which to study. And so this is shamanic visionary traditions in early modern British witchcraft and magic. So such a good one, folks. If you pick this one up, you can message me directly. And that is my full list of books.
Amazing. So those are the books that we had to share with you from our own personal libraries today. It was very difficult to distill this down,
Fact.
but we did it. That's good. So now let's have a little look at just a few other things around book magic, we could say. When I've heard a lot of talk over the years about like armchair occultists, right? People getting stuck in the books. So how do we navigate reading, studying, and putting the books down and practicing?
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely a thing. I know a lot of witches that just get bogged down in the literature and put very little into practice. They're very book clever. They can recite and memorize and do all the things, but they have no practical experience because they haven't been able to practically apply. So my rule of thumb is you read a book, you put it into practice. You read a book, you put it into practice. Whatever you've just read, you do. Read and do. Read and do. You'll quickly find what feels natural, what feels good, what you can synthesize, what you can work with. And the way that I like to work with that is, let's say you want to learn how to ground and center, start from the ground up, right? I want to learn a really good grounding technique. There's many grounding techniques, by the way. But if you read a book on grounding and then you put what you've learned into practice, you're quickly going to find the grounding technique that best suits you. Therefore, you don't need another grounding book because you've already found the method that works best for you, the one that gives you results. Should you find later on that you're failing to connect with that grounding energy after a few years of practicing the same sort of grounding technique, then go for another grounding technique. But once you've learned something and you can comfortably put it into practice, you envelop that into your own personal practice. So really it comes down to put everything that you learn, that you resonate with specifically, because there's some shit out there that you're going to learn that you're just like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the stuff that you are really interested in, the topics, the aspects of within your findings that you are specifically interested in, put those into practice almost immediately. I have a notebook for every new book that I'm studying. And I do that because I highlight the practices that I want to do. Then I actively go out and I do these practices in whatever way I feel called to do, because I always add my own little spin to everything now. So I write the day, the time, the experience, and the outcome. And then I'll do that over and over again. It's like a scientific process for me. What was the moon phase? I'll make sure that the moon phase. What was the day of the week? I'll make sure that I have the day of the week, because all of this has influence, planetary alignments and our like astrological hour, et cetera, et cetera. So I try to document as much of it as I can, and then I put it into practice. And you need to try things more than once in order to really get it. So I would say do it immediately. Learn something new, do it immediately. And I think that's really the only way that you can do it. Otherwise, you could sit there and just accumulate knowledge and then never put it into practice. Because what then do you try? You know everything about the subject, but you don't know how any of that subject feels moving through you. You don't understand the spirit of that subject or the essence of that subject or the practical applications of those subjects. So I think it's very dangerous if you don't start putting things into practice. Not dangerous in a way that's going to compromise you in any way, but I don't know. Witchcraft is about doing. It's a verb. It's a craft. You do it. And so if you're just reading about it, you're not really doing it.
Agreed.
Excellent.
I really like that, actually. I think that's a really great way to do it. Read a book, do some things, because I think it can just be very intimidating and people collect to-dos. And so
Yeah.
there's like, oh, I've got to do like 50 different things and you don't end up doing anything or whatever. And yeah, but to make something your own, you've got to try it yourself. Like you said, try it on. Your
Yeah.
own. Yeah.
You got to integrate. That's how you grow in your practice. So that's a good vibe. Which then kind of like leads us down into sort of like more witchy aspects of books, because books, aside from their material, books is a magical object. There is a little magic here. There's a little magic to talk about. So would you like to open up the conversation, Owlvine?
Well, there's one book that comes to mind when we're talking about this, even though I'm not really supposed to share another book. Let me do this. I've got this one by Judica Isles, which is called Daily Magic. So
yeah.
one of those delicious books that has a little something for every single day. And for me, this book specifically feels like a living book. Now, it's not necessarily one I would specifically recommend to Southern Hemisphere witches just because it is written for the Northern Hemisphere. But what I find is, about 6 months later, you go to that date instead. So I like to read both. So, if it's May 14, let's look at May 14, but then let's go to 6 months, the actual season that I'm currently in, and have a look at that as well. But I love this one. So I've got little notes in the margins and tons of little tabs and things, but this is one that I consistently go through. And in that way, it feels alive like that. So I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about this, because mostly when I think of this topic, I think like grimoire or Book of Shadows or something like that. So,
or just a good old fashioned family Bible.
Yes.
Yeah. Books are, I said it in the beginning, they're like passageways to different worlds. They contain a certain energy and an essence, a theme, and just a really good vibe, right? But books can be talismans. You can actually imbue the magic of books. You can write sigils in books so that it holds a particular energy. You can anoint those sigils. You can feed those sigils regularly. You can have a book that is coveted and empowered. You can bless it and activate it much like you would a crystal, in a circle of herbs, candles, and stuff like that, and really activate the energy and the essence of a book. And if you have a compendium, if you have a magical book that you know that you're going to be reaching for over and over again, that's the type of book that you would do this to. You would sit it in its circle and you would allow it to bask under the sun, under the moon, get that energy, work it for a whole week, and then use that book. And don't let anyone fucking touch it. Like, nobody should put hands on that book, right? There are certain things that nobody should touch, ritual objects. So a book that's been properly spelled should not be touched. So you keep that shit wrapped away, put away somewhere. Little hands shouldn't touch it. Big hands shouldn't. Just don't let people touch these types of books, okay? Because they have an essence, they have an intention. You might bind a spirit to your book. You might ask the ancestors to speak to you through said book. You might ask that the book be not just a means of acquiring knowledge, but also a pathway to divination, to greater wisdom. So you can practice bibliomancy with said book. So it goes beyond just like little spells, because yes, you can actually read a book. This is very ancestral. You can read a book and the book might have a recipe for a spell, but the good witch, and by good I mean the experienced witch, can sit there and cross out an item and say, I would substitute with this, and like really fuck with that recipe to really tailor make it and then put it to use. That book then gets passed down generations. That's the magic. That's the really good, beautiful magic that books can offer you, is a glimpse into a time before our time. So my family is really big on cultivating letters. So I have some really old letters from my mum when I first arrived here in Australia. She sent me like magic through letters and like rituals and things like that. The paper is all yellowed and her writing's there, but it's ancestral. I'll pass that on to my own children. So a little bit of my grandma's wisdom in there, but there's this beautiful magic to books, full stop. Before you even start reading them, before you even take into consideration the subject or the art on the cover, like a book is such a precious thing. It's such an honestly precious thing. And the magic of that book is because it is so precious. It is a cultivation of information. It's a condensation of information, if you will, because you have this whole energy and essence like imbued into a book. You can work with that. The Green Witch's Guide, for instance, work it in the garden. Like bring it to life, like really bring it to life so that it sings to you. And what I mean by singing to you is that when you're reading, I read very fast. So I'll skim, 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 skim. I'll be taking it all in and I'll be doing this. And all of a sudden your eyes just snag on something. Your brain just goes, there we go. And that's the thing. That type of snagging is a lot more prevalent in books that have been witched. So if you've spelled your books, it'll give you something extra every time. If you spell your books will give you the read between the lines vibe. If you spell your books, you will be reading this, and all of a sudden your brain might make this wild spiritual connection elsewhere. So actually do it. It's so fun. I mean, it's so fun.
I love that. What a great tip.
It's a good vibe. And book charms, bookmark charms. You can charm your books. Yes, absolutely. You can turn your books into charms. You can actually,
Do we have
I don't know if I don't even, here, hang on, here. Oh no, I don't think I've got it in this one. If you have books with bookmarks, it's better. It's better for these old kind of books with bookmarks, but you can actually create your own bookmarks and have tassels on them. You can spell and sigil all the way down a bookmark, and you can have crystal tassels and little bones and things like that. So you can actually like pimp your books, really.
I love that. Witchy pimp your books.
Yeah, so that's all I've got to say. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, that is all, I think. I think it's an important part of every advancing witch's practice to build a library that really serves them. It doesn't need to be a giant library. It could be 5 books, 5 really great books that you reach for on a regular basis. But these books, especially as you continue to practice and continue to reach for them, like their own magic, they become friends. They become friends. And like you was talking about with when you spell them and create this relationship with them, there is nothing more beautiful to me than picking up a book and those connections being made, those nuggets being found. It's just the most beautiful thing. So I think it's one of the most important aspects of at least being a solitary witch. Not to say, of course, that, books aren't amazing for people in traditions as well, but particularly for us who don't have that line of teaching, and then these books just become so precious. All our little friends, our little witchy workmates.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
true. It's true. Books make excellent gifts for witches as well.
Yeah.
So if you've got some witchy friends that you want to buy for, books are always a really great something that they will genuinely appreciate. And a lot of my earlier witchcraft friends would give me books and they would write in the cover of the books so that I've got the date, the time, and the person that gave me that book. So that you can sort of like reach for that magic a little bit and just remember that time. And so I think books are absolutely integral, and they are magic in and of themselves. Full stop. Yeah. Yeah. I feel very good about that.
All right, my darlings, we would now love to hear from you. We want to know what's in your witch's library. What are your favorite magical books? What would you recommend if you were to break down beginner, intermediate, advanced books? Let us know. We want all of the recommendations. We want to hear if any of these that we've shared are like, exciting to you. If there are any you're going to purchase or go on to read, let us know. All things books. And like Avalon said earlier, feel free to take photos and tag us on Instagram, TikTok, all of that, because we would love to see what you're reading.
Absolutely. Show us what you've got. Show us your witchcraft.
It just reminded me of Rick of Morty then. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's one with like giant heads. And anyway, they want Rick and Morty to sing for them, and they go, "Show us what you got. Show us what you got." Anyway.
Oh, good stuff. Well, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us and holding space while Owlvine and I do the most incredible thing and something that we love to do, and that is to talk about books. I would actually like to do a fiction version of this.
Yes, we have so many good witchy fiction books to share as well.
Because I do think that there's just as much magic potential in fiction as there is in nonfiction. Some ideas, some concepts, some belief systems. There is a lot of magic in fiction as well. It comes from somewhere, and that imaginative quality is magic in essence. It's flow, it's Arwen, if you call it that.
Absolutely.
So we will definitely do more on books, definitely, because like I said, when I first started, I had 37 and I had to narrow it down to like 12, I think.
That's what we got to in the end. It was going to be 9. 9 or 10, and it was 11, then it was 12. We did pretty good. We did 12.
I feel very proud of myself. All right. Well,
that's it from under our upside down sky. You've been listening to The Broken Pentacle, where the stars tell different stories and the magic always has teeth. Until next time, witches, many blessings.
Bye.
We don't chant by the book or follow your seasons. We cast in reverse like true southern heathens. The rules don't stick and we bite our bits. This ain't your grandma's coven, it's the broken pentacle witch.